So welcome back to continuing with the lab work which we have initiated in some of our previous discussions. I am Shahab Fazal and I am from Department of Geography at Aligarh Muslim University. In this particular lab work, we would be digitizing. We would be bringing the spatial information in digital format in the system. We have learned with the basics of QGIS in our previous discussions. We also georeferenced map, the topo sheet map, etc. Now we proceed further with digitizing a map. Now you all know digitization is the process of converting geographic data into digital format. And during this process, spatial data on maps or images are traced as point, line, polylines or polygons. Polylines means more than one line. More than line feature entity on the ground that would be represented. For example, road, railway network. So these are two different entities. Both of them are line entities, but both of them would be represented in different manner. So within a map, if we are using two line entities, it will be polyline. It has many uses in GIS, including recording and displaying geographic information, generating map layers and storing data. You see, when we discussed about how effectively spatial information can be represented in one of our previous discussion, where some examples I have put forward and explained to you, all these spatial information analysis begin with digitizing the spatial information. So that way, this is the base of spatial information. This process is the base of spatial information, which I am calling it as digitization, bringing ground reality onto the system in digital format is the process of digitization. So this we will be doing today. I'll be trying to explain today in this particular session about digitizing. So you see, just a moment. In the context of digitization, it refers to creating data sets, point, line, polygon from different raster data sets. And map digitization is the process of converting geographic data either from a hard copy or a scanned image into a vector data by tracing the feature. This would be possible as it is evident in the image also. So there are a few steps to digitize data sets. We have georeferenced these maps in our previous sessions. So today we would be digitizing the map. Once the coordinates have been assigned to the map, on these maps we can digitize or vectorize the map in using quantum GIS. It includes selecting the type of feature class, filling the data, saving the data and exporting the data. So the first step, which we have already done, is to georeference the data so that on the parent data, the base map, base data, we would digitize and bring the spatial information in digital format. So this would be the first step. We did it in our previous session. The second step is to select what type of feature class we would like to digitize. Now you all know, you all now are familiar with that there are three basic types of feature classes that we can represent, and we have to choose from that. Now we have to identify as to which data is to be used in what manner. So there can be point feature, there can be line feature, there can be polyline feature, or there can be polygon feature or area feature. And the third step is to fill the spatial features with values. Values in the sense what attribute information we can add to these spatial information. These entities, point, line, polygon entities. So we need to add the attribute information, the value information with these entities. For each point, for each individual point, for each individual individual line entity or each individual polygon or area entity, we need to link it with the attribute, with the value information or any characteristic which we want to represent in the spatial information in the map. So that is the most important and third step which is going on. So when we prepare a map, all three steps, they go on simultaneously. First we will georeference, bring it into digital format, then we start digitizing it using point, line, polygon features, entities, and then we will simultaneously adding the attribute information to these point, line and area entities. So that is what the beginning of this digitization work. Now, how to digitize it? So here we would take up already topographic georeference map, add raster layer. We want to digitize a point entity. So point layer is to be created. So to create point entity, we need to create a point layer. So what we would do, I would be explaining you within the software also. But first we would go to the create point layer map. From the menu bar, we would use the from the QGIS interface and select layer with new shapefile. Okay, I'll show you, yeah, like here. And then we have to select within the new vector layer, we have to select a point. Type of map is point. So here either you have to select point, line or polygon. So it depends on the entity which we want to represent. If it is an area feature, we would be selecting polygon. If it is a line, say road, then we would be selecting line. And if it is a point entity, say for police station or bank or hospital, etc., then it will be point. Then the next step would be to assign the CRS, specify the CRS, coordinate reference system. Now, as you have seen during georeferencing also, we are considering WGS 84 as our base CRS, coordinate reference system. So we would continue with that. So we would select here. Now, if you will click here, you would get a lot many options, and each of them, if you recall during our explanation about the reference system, we have seen that there can be many options, but we for our convenience and for better representation, we are using the WGS 84. Then we have to give a specific name so that the system would recognize as to what kind of point entity or line entity you are making. So that name is to be given, and then you see what type of data you are selecting, whether it is text data or any other type of data. That type is also being selected here. It can be text. For example, if point I am giving only the identity as hospital or police station or bank, then it requires text data. But suppose another attribute which I want to add over here, for example, it can be in the form of value. Say if it is hospital, so how many beds are available there. So that would come into some digits. So value data would be there. Or how many people are under this police station, or how many customers are with any specific bank. These would be represented through value information. So I would select here value information. That means I would be putting up some digits here. So that I have to select. Once I would select text data, then only text could be inserted. If I'll select value, then only digits would be inserted. Now, depending on what kind of attribute we want to represent, we need to select the type of it. Then width is only how to represent it. So the width is something like this, and then as many attribute information you want to add to that point entity, you can add over here. Changing the name here, and type here, clicking here, it will all add to the attribute information, and then if you go OK, it will move further. So this way it will be done. And it is suggesting as to how other information can be added, which I have already explained to you. Then if you want to change some of the information, so you can remove also, that is also possible here. So once the required attributes are added, click on OK. For each new attribute added, an appropriate name. Now this is something very important and you should keep in your mind, that we can add n number of attribute, but each of these attribute need to be unique. There should not be overlapping. So each attribute need to be unique, which can be recognized by the system. So add on the appropriate name, type of the variable, whether it is text or whole number or decimal number or date. So all these are digits, but these are different way of representing the digits in numbers, the values. So there is option, so you can select with it. Width must be selected. If it is length, the text is too long, then you can change the width. Otherwise, the width is okay. You can go ahead with it, and then keep on adding the attribute details would be as it is being shown here in the in this image would be visible. And if you want to remove any, you can remove also. That's what is possible in while you are digitizing the point data. Moving ahead, then you will use this the topo sheet map. Then you have to click on the pen. So it is about editing, so toggle editing, I would say. This you have to click, and then in the next step you have to use here, and then you have to look into this particular symbol. This is add feature icon from the digitizing toolbar, and this when you would click, and then you will come to the map and click at specific location, that entity would be inserted in the map and be recorded. So this is how we do the point digitization. So this is the way I try to explain you that how point data creation is possible in with quantum GIS, and we would be doing it practically also, and we would learn that also in our next session.